Hi, my name is Dr. Lori Passion. I'm here to tell you how to complete ELT Task 9. Please keep in mind this is a PCE task, so it must be done in your PCE placement and the appropriate forms must need signed off after you complete this task with the two students. This task is done with two students, again, in your PCE placement. So for everything I say, please keep in mind that you are doing it twice. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to print out the word lists. The correct marks for these word lists is located on page 66 of your gunning text. As the student reads through the word lists, you are going to use those markings to indicate what the child did while reading the words. I highly recommend tape recording this entire session because if you have something you need to go back and change, you'll need to rely on that tape recording to figure out what the child did. So when the child reads the word list, the reason we do this is because this will be the jumping off point to see where we have the child begin reading the reading passages. The overall purpose of this assessment is to figure out that both students' independent, instructional, and frustration reading levels. So we administer the word lists, the child reads them. When the child misses about half the words, that is when you stop the word list assessments and you will start the reading passages to grade levels before that particular passage. So for example, let's say the child reads to grade level 5 and misses, 12 words on level 5. Well, then you would start the reading passages on level 3. For the word lists, when a child makes 0 to 2 errors, that is considered his independent level. 3 to 4 errors is instructional, and 5 or more errors is considered the child's frustration level. The same thing will apply to the reading passages. So now that we know our jumping off point for the reading passages, let's dive in and have the kids read those. Again, for both students. The markings for the reading passages are located on page 68 of your textbook. As the child reads the reading passages, again, please tape record it. You will use the marks from page 68. And although you're marking all sorts of things that the child is doing while reading, not everything is a quantitative error. If you look at page 68 of your textbook, you will see that there's a section of qualitative errors and a section of quantitative errors. Hesitations, self-corrections, repetitions are not counted as an error. We mark them, but we don't count them in the total number of errors. So when the child is reading the reading passages, please note that the level of the reading passage correlates to the grade level. So reading passage 1 is grade level 1. And again, we're determining the child's 3 reading levels. When a child makes 0 to 2 errors on a reading passage, that is considered the child's independent level. When the child makes 3 to 4 errors, that is the child's instructional level. And when the child makes 5 or more errors when reading, that is considered the child's frustration level. And that is when you stop the test, incidentally. So one question you may have is, what happens if a child goes straight from independent to frustration reading levels? I get this question a lot. So let's say your child blows through grade 3, makes 1 error, and then on the 4th grade reading passage makes 7 errors. Well, we know that grade level 3 is the child's independent level, and we're sure now that grade level 4 is the child's frustration level. So we know that the instructional level will fall somewhere in between grades 3 and 4. So I could make an educated guess and say, I think that this child's instructional reading level would be end of 3rd grade, somewhere in between the two. So now we've determined the child's independent, instructional, and frustration grade levels for reading. And we're going to take that information and we're going to put it in one succinct place where we will analyze and list our results. You will use the informal reading inventory summary page to do so. You see it attached right here to the screen on the bottom right hand side. And on this page, you are going to indicate the child's independent, instructional, and frustration grade levels. Think of this kind of like the report card that you would give to parents. You wouldn't give the parents all the word lists and all the reading passages and let them look at the data. You would give them one piece of paper that says, here's what I did, here's why I did it, and here's what I determined. That's what this page is. So where it says results of word list assessment, you are going to list the results of the word list assessment. Down below, you'll see a box for independent, instructional, and frustration grade level. So let's say you determined the child's independent level was grade level 1. Well, in that box, you would put grade level 1, and then you would explain how and why you're sure that this child's independent reading level is grade level 1. Please be specific with the data from your assessment of how you know that that's the case and what you did to determine it in that box. After you complete that and we know what the child did with reading, we've determined the reading levels for the child. Now we want to determine what does the child consistently do while reading that I can help him with or her with. That's where this miscue analysis comes into play. You see it there in a picture in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. And what you're doing is you are going to go through the reading passages and you are marking on this form the errors that the child made for each reading passage. So kind of think of this like you're making a graph of what the child did wrong while reading. So this is where it becomes important that although hesitations and self-corrections and repetitions aren't counted as quantitative errors, they do affect the quality of the child's reading. So we're going to put them on this miscue analysis and see if there's something that's interfering with the child's quality of reading or interfering with comprehension, which would be the quantitative portion of what we marked. When we look at this, we can very quickly see, after we've marked everything the child did wrong on each reading passage, we can very quickly see what the child consistently does wrong. We are going to use this data in this chart to come up with an objective and 2 strategies to fix it. So let's say, for example, when you look at your miscue analysis, you see that your child continually hesitated on every single reading passage you gave them. Well, that indicates that this child could really use some fluency intervention. So you would explain that, well, looking at this miscue analysis, the child is continually hesitating. So therefore, I would recommend some fluency intervention to take care of that. 2 ways I could do that in the classroom would be repeated reads and timed reads. Okay, so you're looking at the miscue analysis, figuring out what the kid did wrong consistently, coming up with an objective based on that, and then 2 ways to fix it. Now we are going to determine a book that we think is appropriate for these children. If your students' reading levels were close, you can use one book. If they weren't close, unfortunately, you're going to need 2 separate books. So let's say I had a child who read at the 4th grade reading level. Well, I say to myself, I think Harry Potter was written on the 4th grade reading level. So I'm going to test this book to be sure. I complete the Fry readability. To do that, you count out 3 100-word passages from the book. So I would take Harry Potter, I would count out 3 100-word passages. In each of those passages, I would count the number of syllables. Then I need to add those number of syllables together and divide by 3 to get an average. And then I count the number of sentences in each of the 3 reading passages. I add those numbers together, divide by 3, and get the average. In your book on page 108, there is a chart. You will graph those 2 averages on that chart on page 108, and that will give you the actual reading level of the book. When you know the grade level of the book, what it really is, then you would say, okay, Harry Potter was written on a 7th grade reading level, so this book would meet the child's frustration reading level. Okay? When you do your write-up, one thing that's important to remember is that please remember to write out all of your math. So you will literally write, I counted 3 100-word passages. I counted the number of sentences. 26 plus 32 plus 15 equals this divided by 3 equals this. Because the grader will check your math. So write that out. That is probably one of the biggest reasons this task comes back, is because the numbers aren't there for the Fry readability formula. After you've done the Fry and determined the readability of a book, and you've indicated what reading level it meets for each child, you are going to discuss how you could use a reading interest survey to match the student's interests with the appropriate reading level. So if I knew, for example, that my student loves horses and is reading at a first grade reading level, what could I do with that information in my classroom to help this child? When you submit this task, you must submit everything you did with both children. So there will be a lot of documents to submit. You can scan them into TaskStream, you can take a picture of them, it doesn't matter what you do, but you must submit all word lists. You'll submit the reading passages, 2 MIS-Q analysis, 2 IRI summaries, 2 Fry readabilities if necessary, or 1 if one book can match both students' reading levels, and then that interest inventory, what you would do with that. So lots of documents. You might want to make yourself a checklist to make sure everything is submitted. So I hope that helps you with your PCE task. We are the course mentors of this course. I am Dr. Lori Pash. Dr. Kay Vanderberg is the other course mentor for ELT. We do have a shared inbox. It is teachinglanguagearts@wgu.edu. So please feel free to reach out to us at any time, and we'd be delighted to help answer any questions that you have. Good luck with the task. Enjoy working with the little ones, and thanks for listening.